We'll start with the class Reptilia. In class Reptilia, the defining characters are quite a lot, but the major defining characters of the species Reptilia or the class Reptilia we are only going to study. Now, their skin is covered with scales, and sometimes it is also known as scutes. The respiration is only one type, and that is only pulmonary respiration. It is through the lungs. So any word which has the word pulmonary, it will only define lungs. So if the respiration is through lungs, and this lungs is covered by ribs. Next is fertilization. We all know reptiles fertilization is of internal type. It's not external, it is internal fertilization. And there will be presence of amnion. I will describe what is amnion. There is presence of amnion. Amnion is an extra embryonic membrane which is present in reptiles, in birds, as well as in mammals. It contains a cavity which is known as the amniotic cavity, where amniotic fluid is present. Now, if you ask me how should it look like, presence of the amnion, if you are asking me. So if this is a growing fetus, if this is the uterus, it's a growing fetus, this is the placenta. Now through the placenta, there will be the embryo over here. Now this embryo, the cavity that you can see over here, this is placenta, this is embryo, and the space that you are seeing over here, this is known as the amnion, and it contains a fluid. The fluid which encloses the amnion is known as amniotic fluid. In amniotic cavity. Now what does it do? Basically, amnion, it acts as a shock absorber. It acts as a shock absorber of the growing fetus. That is called amnion. Now when we talk about the limbs, the limbs are two pairs, but that is very common character. There are two pairs of limbs. These limbs are pentadactyl. What do you mean by pentadactyl? Pentadactyl means there will be 5 digits in their limbs. 5 digits. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 5 digits. The pentadactyl limb, and this limb has got some horny claws, horn-like claws. These are the claws. So these limbs will be having horny claws. The mouth. When you talk about the mouth of the reptile, sorry. Mouth of the reptile, it is terminal, means at the end, at the terminal tip of the mouth, and the mouth is having teeth. The teeth is pleurodont and thecodont. Teeth is pleurodont and thecodont. Now, I will explain the term pleurodont and thecodont. What do you mean by the pleurodont and what do you mean by the thecodont? Pleurodont teeth is present in lizards, and thecodont type of teeth is present in crocodile. Now, I will be telling about this in your human physiology, but as I have mentioned these two terms over here, pleurodontal type and the thecodontal types, so I should be telling you what is this pleurodont teeth and thecodont teeth. Now, when we talk about pleurodont teeth, when we talk about the pleurodont teeth is partially attached. I show you how it is attached, and also I will show you what is the thecodont type of the teeth. But first of all, let me take a peek over here. Now, when we talk about the pleurodont or the thecodont type of teeth, now pleurodont teeth means teeth is partially attached. Pleurodont teeth. Now it should look like this somewhat. If this is the bone where the teeth is attached, this bone is known as alveolar bone, and the teeth is attached partially. See this, the teeth is only one-sided. This is the teeth. So pleurodont teeth is nothing but partial attached teeth. And what do you mean by thecodont? When it is properly attached, thecodont teeth. Thecodont teeth means when teeth are totally attached in the alveolar bone, like this. It's totally attached in the alveolar bone. This is the alveolar bone, and the teeth is totally attached. Now this is called the pleurodont and the thecodont teeth of this class Reptilia. The endoskeleton of the Reptilia is basically bony in nature. It is bony in nature, and the skull, like I said yesterday, the skull is monocondylic. Monocondylic means there will be only one occipital condyle. That is one occipital condyle. I have told about the occipital condyle yesterday also. It is the connection point between the brain and the spinal cord. The heart is three-chambered. Normally it is three-chambered with one exception. One exception is there where the heart is four-chambered. That is crocodile. That is crocodile. Now the kidney is metanephric, that is fully functional kidney. It is not mesonephric type, it is metanephric type. That is fully functional kidney. So this is regarding the next characters of Reptilia. The next thing what we are going to learn about the excretion, cranial nerve, and the olfactory organ, and their external ear. There is no external ear actually in class Reptilia. You will see that. Now, when we talk about the next part of this class Reptilia, we are going to talk about their excretion. The main excretory product is, if I say it is uricotelic, that means the main excretory product is what? Uric acid. It is not ureotelic or ammonotelic. So the main excretion is, it is uricotelic. Uricotelic means main excretory product is uric acid. Sometimes if there is deficiency of water, this uric acid does not comes out like broth. Broth means does not comes out like liquid form or semi-liquid or semi-solid form. Sometimes it also can come out like crystals. When does that happen? If there is scarcity of water, just to save water inside their body, they excrete uric acid crystals. Now we talk about the cranial nerve. Like I said about the cranial nerve yesterday, the cranial nerve is part of the autonomic nervous system, and it has got 12 pairs of cranial nerves. 12 pairs of cranial nerves. That means the extra 2 pairs is present from here. Till before this, what we have done till amphibia, it was having 10 pairs of cranial nerves, but we can see from reptilia, 12 pairs of cranial nerves is present over here. And their olfactory organ. What do you mean by olfaction? Olfaction means smelling. The olfactory organ which is present in reptilia, it is known as Jacobson's organ. Jacobson's organ. And it is basically nasovomeral. Nasovomeral in nature. I'll try to show what is nasovomeral. Now, if you see this skull, if you can see this skull, this is the nasal part. Now, inside it, the vomer muscle is there. This is the nasal part, and inside the vomer is present. So this is nasovomeral in nature, the olfactory organ, and there is no external airs. There is no external airs. External air is over here is absent. What are the precise examples that you need to study regarding reptiles? The examples that you need to study is, first one is chameleon. Chameleon is known as the tree lizard. Next one is your Kelon. Kelon is also known as turtle, common name. The next one is alligator. Next is calote. C-A-L-O-T-E. Calote. Calote is nothing but it is garden lizard. Next is crocodile. And the next is testudo. Testudo is known as the tortoise. So this is all regarding the class Reptilia. Apart from this, you need to remember one more example over here, which is a poisonous lizard. Poisonous lizard. This poisonous lizard is known as Heloderma. So this is all about the class Reptilia. Now we are going to go for the class Aves, that is the birds. Now, when we talk about the class Aves, it is one of the most important classes of vertebra. Why? Because most of the questions from this class comes from Aves, from this vertebra. If you ask me, say like, which is the most important vertebra part that is very important in the regard of meat, this is the class Aves. What are the different characters of this class Aves? The first thing, these are known as feathered bipeds. Feathered Bipeds. Bipeds means, bi means two, ped means pedals. That means legs, two-legged. Those are known as the bipeds, and it has got feather also. These are homeothermal. Homeothermal species. Homeothermal word means it is endothermal. Endothermal means these are warm-blooded. Endothermal. Endothermal means these are warm-blooded. You should also need to know one thing. Okay, of all the AV species, the most highest temperature of the class AV is present in pigeon. The normal body temperature of the pigeon is around 47 degrees Celsius, which is quite almost like 10 degrees more than the normal body temperature of the class mammal. And it is one of the most warmest animals or warmest birds that is existing at this point of time. That is pigeon. Its body temperature is around 47 degrees Celsius. Their jaw bones, they have jaw, but the jaw bones is basically modified into, these are modified into beak or bills. Whatever you can say, you can call it a beak, you can call it as bills. Next is their limbs. When we talk about their limbs, it is basically two pairs. What are the two pairs of limbs they have? They have four limbs, one pair of forelimb, inside, and it is modified into wings, and another is your hind limb. These are called as the legs, and these legs have four claws. These legs have four claws. That means four-digited, and they have four claws in it. In every digit, they got one claw each. Talk about the exoskeleton. In exoskeleton, basically, they are feathered. And the scales will be present on their hind limb along with claws. Feathered, scales in hind limb, and with claw. All these features, feather, scale, claws, they are all epidermal derivatives. They come from the epidermis. All these are epidermal derivatives. Now we talk about the skin, another very interesting character which is present in the birds. Now for skin, what we have, they are without any glands. But there is one gland which is present in their skin, that is called the cutaneous gland. It is also known as the uropygial or prim gland, which is present at the base of their tail. So they have, in the skin, they have cutaneous gland. And this cutaneous gland is also known as what? Uropygial gland, or also known as the prim gland. And its occurrence is where? Its occurrence is at the base of their tail. Its occurrence is at their base of their tail. This is about their skin. Now we are going to talk about their flight muscles. Now, the flight muscle is basically, we all know, they have quite strong flight muscles. The flight muscle is basically made up of pectoralis major. It is one of the most powerful muscle that we have at our disposal. Uh, uh, the flight muscle, yeah, I should make you understand whatever your name is, Tanishq, Devdas or whatever, you're asking your teacher what is written. तो डोंट आस्क लाइक दैट यू आर आस्किंग योर फ्रेंड क्या लिखा था का मतलब नहीं अपना भाषा ठीक करो फिर मैं बोलूंगा फ्लाइट मसल का जो जो बात होता है फ्लाइट मसल जो है उसका नाम क्या है पेक्टोरैलिस मेजर पेक्टोरैलिस major. It is one of the strongest flight muscle that we have in our disposal. We have also pectoralis major and pectoralis minor. It is basically enclosing the ribs. So those muscles are, if it is in the front of the ribs, it is known as pectoralis major. If it is at the back of the ribs, it is known as the pectoralis minor. So the flight muscle that they have is known as the pectoralis major. The skull is monocondylic. Again, as I have said, monocondylic means there will be only one occipital condyle. Now, there is one structure which is known as synsacrum. What do you mean by synsacrum? Synsacrum is a structure which is assimilation of thoracic region, lumbar region, sacral region, and caudal vertebra. Caudal vertebra means the end part or the tail part of the vertebral column. Synsacrum equal to, we can make a formula out of it. Synsacrum is a structure which is basically made up of the thorax, lumbar, sacral, and caudal vertebra. So that is called as synsacral. Okay. After uropygial, I have written Prin glands. So that is called a synsacrum. Now the next structure that we are going to talk about, it is known as the pygostyle. It is another unique feature of the class AVs, that is called the pygostyle. Now this pygostyle, it is basically, if we consider the tail portion of the bird, the tail portion of the bird contains 3 to 4 tail vertebrae. They fuse together and makes a structure which is known as the pygostyle. So pygostyle is nothing but pygostyle is last 3 or 4 tail vertebra. That is called the pygostyle. Now, we should also be concerned among ourselves about the sternum. Now, the sternum, when we talk about of birds, normally in birds, as they have to fly in quite a distance, as they have to generate a lot of ATP in them for flight, the sternum is not small. The sternum is normally very large, and it is vertical in arrangement. It is vertical in arrangement, and it is the site for the attachment of pectoralis major. If you can remember, I told pectoralis major is their major flight muscle. So the sternum is there basically what? The sternum is very large. It is vertical, and it is the attachment site for pectoralis major. That is their flight muscle. So when the sternum and their flight muscle joins, it gives rise to a structure which is known as keel. Sternum with their flight muscle is known as keel. We talk about after sternum, what comes? The ribs. We talk about the ribs. There is a extension of the ribs. Like normally, when we talk about the ribs comes like this. The ribs of humans comes like this. It is attached. Some ribs are attached with the sternum. Some ribs are not attached with the sternum. When we will talk about this in human physiology. But with this, we don't have any kind of process or extension in our ribs. But in case of this AVs, they have extension or process which is present in their ribs like this, like process. These are the process. These are the process which is present in their ribs, and this process of the ribs is known as uncinate process. Uncinate process. Process means any kind of extension from a particular structure. So their ribs are having some certain kind of processes which is coming out from their ribs, and it is known as the uncinate process. When we talk about the clavicles, we all know that there are two clavicles which is present in us. They also have two clavicles. Okay, and these two clavicles actually fuse together to give a structure which is known as furcula. I'll show you how it looks like. I'll show you how it looks like. So when we talk about the clavicle, it has got two clavicles, and these two clavicles, when they fuse together, they give a V-shaped or Y-shaped structure. You see this, how it looks like. This is one clavicle. This is another clavicle. Now these two clavicle is fusing at one point by another structure which is known as the interclavicle. So this is clavicle. This is interclavicle, and it gives a structure which is known as furcula. This whole structure, this shape of the structure is known as what? Furcula. Or sometimes it is also known as wishbone. It is also known as the wishbone or Merry-Thought bone. Anything you can, there are a lot of names given to this furcula. Merry-Thought bone. Okay. Now we talk about the esophagus. When we talk about the esophagus basically it extends or it dilates to form another structure which is known as crop. And this crop is a structure, sometimes what is I'm telling you, this esophagus dilates and forms crop. Now this crop is a very unique structure in birds. Why? Because this crop secretes pigeon milk. Now you can well be aware, say, how come pigeons secrete milk? Do they have mammary glands? No, they don't have mammary glands, and this is not true milk. This is actually from the crop part. From the crop part, they will vomit some of their undigested food material, which looks white in color. That's why we call it as pigeon milk. And that white colored undigested food which comes out of their crop is being fed to their young ones. So that's why it is called pigeon milk. But there is no mammary gland, so don't accommodate yourself of thinking that they have mammary glands and they secrete milk. No, it is not. This pigeon milk is nothing but these are the vomit. This is undigested vomit. Pigeon milk is nothing but this is the undigested white fluid coming out as vomit. Or emesis also you can call. Emesis is another term used for vomiting. Now we will talk about the stomach. After esophagus, what comes? It comes the stomach. Now their stomach is divided into two parts. What are the two parts it's known as? The first is known as the proventriculus. And this proventriculus is glandular in nature, that means it is secretory in nature. And the second part is known as the gizzard. Now, what is a gizzard? Whatever food comes inside this gizzard, it churns or it mechanical breakdown of the food. So it is very muscular in nature. It goes for the mechanical breakdown of the food. It breaks down the food into small particles so that it can get digested easily. Now, when we talk about the respiration, now for respiration, they have lungs. That is true. They have lungs, but this lungs is continuous with another. So if you are asked, I'll tell you one very interesting thing over here. Lung is continuous with air sac. So if you are given the option, what is the respiratory organ of birds, you should be ticking off the air sac rather than lungs. Both lungs and air sac option is given. You are to tick air sac. If both option is correct, is not given. Always tick for the air sac. Now their larynx. Their larynx. We all know larynx is known as the voice box because as it contains vocal cords. But their larynx don't have vocal cords. No vocal cords. No vocal cords in their larynx. So how come they make sounds, sir? Very interesting thing. How come the sound is coming from a bird? There is a sound box which is known as syrinx, which produce voice, and it is near the trachea and the bronchi of the bird. The sound box is known as syrinx, which produces sound, and it is near what? It is near the trachea and bronchi. So this is about their sound box and all those things. Now we are going to go about their more intense anatomical structure, that is their heart, their portal system, renal portal system, which is absolutely vestigial. Previously it was considered to be functional, but now it is vestigial. It is not working at all. So we are not going to go for the heart. As we know, their heart is 4 chambers, so there is no need for sinus venosus. But in place of sinus venosus, there is another thing which is present. It is known as right aortic arc. Arc means like bow and arrow, and it is towards the right atrium. Therefore, it is known as right aortic arc. But there is no sinus venosus or truncus arteriosus present in aves. So, in case of heart, in case of heart is 4 chambered. Heart is 4 chambered, and they don't have sinus venosus. Yesterday I told you what is sinus venosus. Sinus venosus is absent, but in place of that they have right aortic arc. Arc means a bow and arrow shaped organ. Okay? Right aortic arc, which is present in adults. It is present in the adults. The renal portal system. Yesterday also I told about this portal system, what is meant by portal system. The renal portal system in aves is vestigial. It is present, but it is not working. If you are asked in a statement, state the statement correct or incorrect, and you are given aves contains renal portal system, you have to say that this statement is correct. But if you are given a statement like this, the renal portal system of aves is functional, that is an incorrect statement because it is vestigial in nature. previously it was vestigial organ or those system which was previously functional, but due course in time, these organs, due to low activity, they become vestigial, that is non-working or non-functional. Now, does not mean degenerated. Degenerated means different. Vestigial organs are not degenerated. Now, we are going to talk about the erythrocytes. Now, the erythrocytes, every time this question also comes, the different erythrocytes of vertebra. With all the erythrocytes in the vertebra, they will be asking of the shape and whether they are nucleated or not. Two question only comes. It is oval in shape and these are nucleated erythrocytes. The erythrocytes. The kidney, when we talk about the kidney, it is metanephric. That means fully functional kidney is there. It is metanephric. The ureter. Now there is a intricate system with the ureter and the urinary bladder. What is the system? Normally we see the ureter, when it comes, it goes down and descends down to urinary bladder from back, not from the front. Ureter does not comes inside the urinary bladder from the front. It comes from the back of the urinary bladder. But in case of the birds, this ureter does not open to urinary bladder. Why? Because birds don't have urinary bladder. They have cloaca. So the ureter actually opens to cloaca and not urinary bladder. Why? Because urinary bladder is absent in birds. Normally ureter opens into urinary bladder, but as urinary bladder is not present in birds, so this ureter has to open up into the cloaca. That is one. That's why we call it cloaca, as is known as urinogenital or urinogenital reproductive tract or organ. It is a single opening for all these three. That is called the cloaca. Now the excretion, when we talk about, what is the main excretory product of the AV? When we talk about excretion, it is uricotelic. When we talk about it is uricotelic, that means we are talking about it is having uric acid. Uric acid, main excretory thing is uric acid. The cranial nerve. We have already got cranial nerve reaching up to 12 pairs, so it is not going to come down till we reach mammals. So the cranial nerve is 12 pairs. There are 12 pairs of cranial nerve. The olfactory organ, that means the sensing or the smelling organ. Olfactory organ. How the olfactory organ of the birds are. The olfactory organ of the birds is basically very poorly developed. Very, very poorly developed olfactory organ. They don't have a great sense of smell. Okay. So this is very poorly developed. It is not very highly developed. It is very poorly developed. Ears. The ears, normally in the middle ear of us, there are 3 ossicles. But in birds, the middle ear have got only 1 ossicle, only 1 bone. In us, there are 3 bones, malleus, incrustatus, but in case of aves, the ear is only having 1 ossicle in middle ear. In the middle ear. That is about the ear. Now the eyes. There is a कहावत, आंखें बोलता है. इसका आंखें बहुत इंटरेस्टिंग है. क्या है? पहले तो ये कि इसका आईज में निक्टिटेटिंग मेम्ब्रेन रहेगा. निक्टिटेटिंग मेम्ब्रेन हम लोगों में भी है, लेकिन वो भी वेस्टिजियल है, काम नहीं आता है. लेकिन इनका जो निक्टिटेटिंग मेम्ब्रेन है, जिसको बोलते हैं थर्ड आईलिड, निक्टिटेटिंग मेम्ब्रेन को क्या बोलते हैं? थर्ड आईलिड. ये फुल्ली फंक्शनल है. और बहुत ही इंटरेस्टिंग चीज रहेगा जिसका नाम है पेक्टेन. इनका आईज में पेक्टिन रहता है। सर पेक्टिन चीज है क्या? पेक्टिन एक फोम लाइक स्ट्रक्चर है जो आंखों के करीब रहता है और ये एक ब्लाइंड स्पॉट की तरफ होता है, ठीक है। ये आईबॉल को न्यूट्रिशन देता है, दैट इज द पेक्टिन। पेक्टिन इज नथिंग बट इट इज अ फोम लाइक स्ट्रक्चर, it is a comb like structure, and its main function is what? Its main function is to provide nutrition to eye. That is the main thing regarding pectin. So this is about the eye. Now we are going to go for the concluding points of AVs. Sex, whether there is sexual dimorphism. What do you mean by sexual dimorphism? मतलब dimorphism मतलब true morphology, whether the sexes are separate or not. We see the sexual dimorphism in parrot and peacock precisely. So that is, we are going to study fertilization and how the females will be, and what is the largest feather that they have, and what is the protein molecule that the feather is made up of. That is going to be our concluding points for the class AVs, and we will conclude the class after that. So we will be left to do mammals and hemichordals, and the chapter will be over, and there I am going to take a test regarding the whole chapter, whole animal kingdom. So now we are going to talk about the sex. Normally the sex is separate. When the sex is separate, we are talking of sexual dimorphism. When the sex is separate, there is going to be sexual dimorphism. And it is very much prominent in what? In parrot and peacock. These two places where we can see sexual dimorphism properly being seen. The fertilization is what? Internal or external? It is, we have what? Fertilization is internal. And also it's not important in this chapter actually. Anyways, the females are what? They are egg laying. So it is going to be oviparous female, and there is only one ovary. You will be asked how many ovaries are present in birds. There is only one ovary, and it is present in the left side of the total female reproductive system. So they have a left ओवरी, मतलब सिंगल ओवरी, दो ओवरी नहीं होता है। हम लोगों में जैसे दो ओवरी होता है, इन लोगों में एक ही ओवरी होता है, सिंगल ओवरी। और इसमें एक ओविडक्ट भी होगा। ओविडक्ट का नाम क्या है? ओविडक्ट का नाम है मुलेरियन डक्ट। मुलेरियन डक्ट क्या है? मुलेरियन डक्ट एक ऐसा डक्ट सिस्टम है जो मुलेरियन हार्मोन इसको स्टिमुलेट करता है। If we say, in a fetus, if the Mullerian hormone is being secreted from the Mullerian duct, the fetus is going to have a female baby. But if in the fetus, through the Mullerian duct, if anti-Mullerian hormone is secreted, then the fetus is going to be developed into a male baby. So ये Mullerian duct से कौन सा हार्मोन आ रहा है वो बहुत इंपॉर्टेंट होगा कि उसके अंदर लड़का है या लड़की है। या हम लोगों में भी है, लेकिन लड़कों में हम लोगों का जो लड़के होते हैं उसका मुलेरियन डक्ट से एंटी मुलेरियन हार्मोन सिक्रिट होता है। अगर उस मुलेरियन डक्ट से मुलेरियन हार्मोन सिक्रिट हो गया तो फिर लड़का लड़का नहीं रहेगा, वो लड़कियों जैसे बर्ताव करेगा, जो काफी सारे लड़कों में होता है। देखे हो तो थोड़ा बर्ताव उन लोग का लड़की को जैसा होता है। तो मतलब ये सीधा कहाँ से? उसका मुलेरियन डक्ट से एंटी मुलेरियन हार्मोन सिक्रिट नहीं हो रहा है, मुलेरियन हार्मोन सिक्रिट हो गया है। So that is called its Mullerian duct is the defining feature whether the whether the organism is going to be female or whether it is going to be male. इसके बाद होता है उसका फेदर. एक फेदर का नाम है जिसका नाम है क्विल फेदर. ये सबसे बड़ा फेदर होता है. फेदर्स पहले नीट का सिलेबस में था, टाइप्स ऑफ फेदर्स, लेकिन अभी नहीं है. सिर्फ सबसे बड़ा फेदर्स कौन है वही तुम लोगों को याद रखना है. उस फेदर का नाम है क्विल फेदर. दिस इज द लार्जेस्ट फेदर इन बर्ड्स. और ये फेदर इज मेड अप ऑफ केराटिन, मेड ऑफ keratin. So these are all the defining features or defining characteristic features for birds. इसका examples कौन कौन से important है वो देख लेते हैं, and we will conclude today's class regarding aves, and we are going to be left to do with mammals and hemichordates. What are the important examples? First example, very important, neophron. What is a neophron? Neophron को बोलते हैं हम लोग vulture. नेक्स्ट पीकॉक. पीकॉक को बोलते हैं हम लोग पावो. नेक्स्ट सिटिक्यूला. सिटिक्यूला को बोलते हैं पैरट. नेक्स्ट कॉर्वस. कॉर्वस स्प्लेंडेंस, उसको बोलते हैं क्या, देखते ही हो गए आजू बाजू में बहुत सारे जन. क्रो बोलते हैं उसको. नेक्स्ट कोलुम्बा. कोलुम्बा लिविया टोटल नाम है, उसका बोलते हैं पीजियन. नेक्स्ट स्ट्रूथियो. स्ट्रूथियो होता है द लार्जेस्ट बर्ड दैट वी हैव, दैट इज द ऑस्ट्रिच. द फास्टेस्ट रनिंग बर्ड आल्सो, दैट इज द ऑस्ट्रिच. इट हैज गॉट अ सुसाइडल टेंडेंसी एज वेल. So this is all about what is going to be important in your NEET syllabus. Don't study anything outside this because nothing will come outside this one. If you want to study, that is your problem. But what is going to come, that is only I am going to teach, not extra, because only 2 questions come from this chapter in NEET. Only 2 questions, and these 2 questions is only NCERT based, so there is no need to study outside the syllabus for at least this chapter. Wherever it is needed to go for interconnecting concept, I will teach, but not for this chapter. So that is all about your class aves and class reptilia today for today's discussion. And if you are going to have any further classes from tomorrow onwards, we are going to study for mammals as well as hemichordates, and we are going to finish off this chapter. And the next chapter that we are going to start is either it is going to be tissues or it is going to be human physiology. But my preference is human physiology is better that to start because it is more interesting, more intricate system. You learn a lot in that thing. Let me see what I can start over there. So this will be the thing. Yesterday's note I have sent to Ramakrishna sir. You can attend from there. Today's note also I am going to send to him. You can take the note from him. Okay. Thank you.